Before we get into Nietzsche's core message, I'd like to tell a story to make things clearer. Once, there was a young seeker who had spent many years wandering in search of enlightenment. He traveled across distant lands, apprenticing himself to different gurus and ascetics, hoping one of them would reveal the ultimate truth. But after all those adventures, he found himself no closer to it. Exhausted and disappointed, the young seeker finally gave up the quest. He decided to settle into a simpler life and took a humble job as a farmhand in a rural village. The farm's owner was a plain, middle-aged farmer. Outwardly, he seemed like an ordinary, hard-working man. Certainly no guru or scholar, but as the student worked alongside this farmer each day, he began to notice a calm wisdom in the man's simple observations about nature and daily life. In the evenings, their casual chats over supper often drifted into surprisingly deep conversations about meaning, happiness, and truth. At first, the student remained skeptical. He challenged the farmer's ideas with every tough question and doubt he could muster, just as he had done with all the renowned teachers he met before. The farmer welcomed these debates cheerfully, responding to the student's arguments with patience and good humor. He never became upset at being questioned. As the months passed, the student's skepticism slowly melted away. He found that many of the farmer's simple insights rang true in a way that the lofty, complicated teachings he'd heard elsewhere did not. There was a serenity in the farmer's way of life that the student deeply admired. Gradually, the young man began to accept the farmer's words as truth. His once inquisitive mind grew quieter. Bit by bit, he came to believe that this humble farmer actually held the answers he had been seeking all along. One warm afternoon, as the two of them finished their chores under the sun, the farmer turned to the student with firm expression. Without warning, he said, "My friend, I think it's time for you to leave this farm." The student was stunned. He looked up at the farmer in shock. "Leave? Why?" he blurted out. "Have I done something wrong? Have I offended you?" The farmer shook his head, smiling kindly. "Not at all," he replied. "You haven't offended me. But listen, when you first came here, you were full of questions and ideas. You challenged me. You learned by asking and exploring. We both learned from each other then. But lately, I've noticed something change in you. You don't ask questions anymore. You've started to accept everything I say as the absolute truth. You've stopped thinking for yourself. You arrived here as a seeker, but now you've become a believer, and I can't, in good conscience, let you continue down that path. For your own good, you need to go and seek on your own again." The student's eyes began to well up with tears. He couldn't understand it. I don't understand," he protested, his voice trembling. "I came here looking for truth, and I thought I found it in you. Everything you've taught me feels right. What's so wrong with following your guidance? You're wise and kind. Why wouldn't I listen to you?" His voice was almost pleading. It was clear he revered the farmer and was hurt at the prospect of being sent away. The farmer let out a sympathetic sigh and motioned for the student to follow him into the old barn. Curious and anxious, the student followed. In the dim barn light, the farmer took an old, rolled-up map from a shelf and spread it out on a work table, smoothing it flat. Dust motes flew in the sunlight as the farmer gestured to the map. "Tell me," the farmer asked, "what do you see on this map?" The student leaned over the faded, yellowing map. He studied the lines and markings. "Well, I see our farm right here," he said, pointing. "And there's the river nearby and the mountains off in the distance. It looks like a map of this land, of the whole area." "Exactly," said the farmer. "It's a drawing of the land, an image of the farm, the river, the mountains. But it's not the real things themselves, is it?" He tapped the paper gently. "Now, tell me, can this map teach you everything about the actual countryside it represents?" The student frowned a little, not sure what the farmer was getting at. "It can show me where things are," he answered. "I can see how far the river is from the farm, or which direction those mountains lie. That's something, isn't it? The map gives me a layout at least." It's something, yes, the farmer conceded, but it's not the whole reality. He looked up at the student, gauging his reaction, then continued. Think about it this way. Fast forward 100 years into the future. The river might change course or dry up. The forest might spread further out, or maybe burn down someday. This little farm could grow into a town. The map in front of us wouldn't show any of those changes. It would be outdated, even misleading. You can't rely on a static map to give you the living truth of the land as it is right now. For that, you'd have to go out there yourself, walk the land, see it with your own eyes, experience it directly. The student nodded slowly, listening intently. The farmer could see a spark of understanding begin to light in the young man's eyes. The farmer went on, "Do you see what I'm getting at? My knowledge, my memories, my map of the world is just a representation of truth as I've seen it. I've tried to sketch out some of life's terrain for you through my words and experiences. That can be useful to you, just like a map is useful to a traveler. But it's still just a map, not the territory itself. If you want to know the real, ever-changing truth of this life, you can't rely solely on my map or anyone else's. You have to journey out into reality yourself and see it firsthand." The student was quiet, absorbing the analogy. The farmer looked at him earnestly and continued, "If you let someone else stand permanently between you and the truth, acting as your guide at every step, then you'll be following that person's map instead of finding your own way. And what if my map is wrong or incomplete? Then both of us would be misled, and you'd never realize where we went off course. Worse, you'd never develop the skill to navigate and discover truth on your own." A dawning realization came over the student. He whispered, almost to himself, "I think I understand. I was so eager to find the truth that I stopped questioning and just started trusting everything you said. I was seeing the world through your eyes instead of my own." He looked up at the farmer, a bit embarrassed. The farmer smiled and placed a hand on the young man's shoulder. "There's nothing wrong with learning from someone," he said. "I'm honored that you trust me, but there is something wrong with giving up your own sight. I'd be doing you a disservice if I let you stay here and turn into my shadow." He said, "I don't want a disciple who just accepts my words. I'd rather you go out and find truth for yourself. Then maybe, one day, we'll meet again. Not as master and student, but as fellow travelers." The student felt a lump in his throat, leaving hurt, but he understood. The farmer pulled him into a brief, warm embrace. "I'm sending you away because I care," he said quietly. "Take what you've learned and let it be your starting point. Now go. See what's true for yourself." Tears welled up in the student's eyes with gratitude. He bowed his head. "Thank you for everything. I will go and seek the truth." At dawn, he packed his few belongings and left. The farmer stood by the gate and watched until the young man vanished beyond the horizon. Saying goodbye was hard, but it was right. By letting him go, the farmer had given him the greatest gift, the freedom to seek truth on his own. Why would someone send away a student they care for? What kind of teacher does that? In truth, this simple story reflects a profound lesson at the heart of Nietzsche's philosophy. Like the prophet Zarathustra in Nietzsche's writings, the farmer recognizes that the student has stopped seeking and started following. His once curious mind had quieted and stopped questioning, and that shift from seeker to believer is dangerous. If he stayed, both would suffer. The student would lose his independent vision, and the farmer would lose the benefit of being challenged by a thoughtful companion. Their relationship would calcify into master and disciple rather than two evolving minds. This is the danger of blind discipleship. When we place someone on a pedestal and follow them without question, we stop thinking for ourselves. We start living according to their map and forget how to draw our own. In life, it's tempting to cling to a charismatic teacher, a belief system, or an ideology as the answer. We think, this person knows, I'll just trust them, and for a while it brings peace. But it's a borrowed peace, a second-hand certainty It may comfort us, but it dulls our inner inquiry, and without inquiry, growth stalls. Nietzsche wrote to his sister, "If you wish for peace of soul and pleasure, then believe. If you wish to be a devotee of truth, then inquire." Believing is easier. It gives us the illusion of clarity, the sense that the journey is over. But real truth-seeking is harder. It demands uncertainty. It requires us to keep asking, even when the answers feel good, even when it would be easier to stop. To walk that path takes intellectual humility. It means recognizing that no teacher, no matter how wise, is infallible. And it means accepting that we, too, have much to learn. Even the greatest guides have blind spots. That's why Zarathustra, Nietzsche's mouthpiece, tells his disciples, "Be ashamed of me. Perhaps I have deceived you." A true teacher invites challenge, not worship. That's what the farmer understood. He didn't want to be idolized. He wanted to be met one day by someone who had also looked for answers in the wild and made discoveries of their own. And for the student, humility meant realizing that truth wasn't something he could inherit. He had to verify it for himself, not because his teacher had failed, but because no teacher can do that part of the journey for you. Truth cannot be handed down, it must be walked alone. But none of this means we should reject teachers or ignore the wisdom of others. The message, Nietzsche's and the farmer's, is not never listen. It's don't outsource your sight. Guidance is valuable. We should learn from those who are further along, seek advice from the wise, and read ideas that stretch our understanding. But we must not let that guidance become a substitute for our own discernment. We are meant to test what we learn, to reflect and wrestle with it, to remain students of truth, not followers of any one figure. A true teacher, like the farmer, doesn't want worship. They want to empower you to see clearly. In fact, the best teachers hope to become unnecessary. Their goal is to make you your own guide. So how do we live this out? Keep your thinking active. Stay curious, especially toward those you admire. Practice intellectual independence. When a teacher or philosophy moves you, engage deeply, but not blindly. Ask questions and reflect. Challenge what doesn't sit right. Your perspective matters in the search for truth. Your intuition is not a flaw, it's part of the equipment. No one sees the world exactly the way you do, and that uniqueness is a strength. You might notice something your mentor missed, and if you choose to follow someone's lead for a time, do it with awareness. Be ready to walk a different path if theirs no longer aligns with what you know to be true. Be a seeker, not a follower. I hope you enjoyed watching our video. As always, wishing you a beautiful day.